What do points on the Dow really mean? I was on a radio talk show a couple of years ago. A friend of mine, Eric von Hessler, and he asked me out of the blue. We're talking about the economy. He said, "What is a Dow point?" And I said, "Well, or what is the Dow?" And I said, "It's a representation, 30 biggest or significant companies in America." And it sums them up, and it's an odometer reading for those companies. And he said, no. What is a point on the Dow? What does it really mean? Is it a share price? Is it a unit value? Is it a dollar value? And I'm here today to answer what I think is a so fundamental and important question that we see the Dow on the news every night. We hear about it on the radio constantly. The Dow hits 22,000, 23,000. I remember early in my career when the Dow hit 10,000. It was a big deal. But we never really understand or talk about what a point on the Dow really means. So I'm going to explain that here today. It's really a fascinating story. It's complicated, but I'm going to make it super easy right here on this quick video. So if you have a friend that asks you, what is a point on the Dow? What does it really mean? You can say, hey, go watch the Wes Moss video. What do points on the Dow really mean? So first of all, we'll start as a quick refresher. Most of us know this. What is the Dow to begin with? Well, it's just a price-weighted average of 30 very large or significant companies here in the United States. So it started back in the late 1800s, 1896 to be exact. Charles Dow was the inventor. General Electric was one of the original components, still one of the components today. What is interesting about the Dow, and again, we watch this all the time, is that it is a little bit of a wonky average because it is the way it's constructed. It measures and gives a higher weighting or more gravity to a company, not by the company's size, like you might expect, and how the S&P 500 does it, and most indexes do it. But the Dow, in a very wonky way, gives a greater significance to a company that just happens to have a larger or higher price. Literally, the dollar value of a company's price, share price, it determines how much that particular company moves the Dow. That's why it's a little hard to understand. I'm going to break down this formula, but for instance, if you were to look at the Dow itself, a company like General Electric that trades at about $20 a share has a very little impact on the Dow versus a company like Goldman Sachs that's trading at over 240 a share. That really matters. Boeing over 250 a share. That really moves the Dow on any given day, depending on what happens to those companies. So it's an interesting way that this is put together. But let's explain this. I'll draw this out. What does a point really mean or represent? Well, it gets back to, very simply, a dollar value. But it's not that simple, because really the Dow is a scoring system that ultimately represents dollars. So that's the real answer to this question, is that the Dow Jones is a scoring system that measures price in dollars. And here's how it actually works. You would take the sum of all the Dow points, and then you would divide that by this moving divisor that changes every time there's a stock split or a new company that comes in and out of the Dow. Anytime there's a change, that divisor on the Dow actually has to change. So it's a moving target is what makes this pretty interesting. So let's do the formula here. The one Dow point is divided, let's say Dow is a little above 23,000, but let's just do for simple math. So one Dow point divided by 23,000 times the value of all the Dow points, and this I'm going to try to put a dollar value on each point. The Dow is worth right now about $6.2 trillion. Okay, if you do this math pretty quickly, so 1 point of the Dow, 23 divided by 23,000, times the market cap of the companies in the Dow, which is about $6.2 trillion, it comes out to about $270 million, or a little over $250 million every single time we see the Dow Jones tick up or down just one little point. So again, pretty fascinating and complicated formula that is a moving target, but ultimately we're talking about a scoring system for the price of those 30 components measured in dollars. Now, let's take this one step further, and let's talk about what the S&P 500 represents. It probably a much widely agreed to be a much more representative sample of how the U.S. economy is doing. So it's the stock market of 500 of the most significant or biggest companies in the United States. Now, this is, though, measured a little bit differently because it measures value or market capitalization, size. So the S&P 500 scoring system represents size in dollars, while the Dow represents price in dollars. So what do we do to get the S&P 500? We take the sum or the market cap of these companies divided by a divisor. Let's figure out what 1 point on the S&P 500 is worth. Let's say the S&P is worth about, or the level's about 260. 1 divided by 260 times the market cap of the whole S&P 500, which is about 22.5 trillion, again with a T. What's this formula work out to be? Works out to be about $8.9 billion per S&P 500 point. So 1 point is worth about $9 billion. And I think this is significant because you might hear in a day where, or let's say we have a week or two where the markets go down and down and down and down, and you hear, oh, well, the stock market lost $500 billion worth of value. Well, pretty interesting. Every single point on the S&P 500 itself is worth almost $10 billion. So it's good, big news, but this is gives you a better understanding of just how giant this marketplace is. And it is now represented by these tiny little averages. In this case, the S&P 500, about 25, 60, depending on what day we're looking at. So with that, that's an explanation of how both of these averages work. Again, they both represent something, but ultimately both lead back to prices in dollars. So in both cases, a point on the S&P 500 or the Dow stands for or measures or represents, however you want to put it, a dollar level or dollar value. Again, 1 point of the Dow worth about $270 million, or a little over $250 million. 1 point on the S&P 500, at least today in late 2017, equals close to $9 billion per point. Hope this is informative, educational, and you enjoyed it. You can find us again on the YouTube channel, Wes Moss Money Matters, on Facebook, Wes Moss Money Matters, and of course the website, wesmoss, WESMOSS.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a profitable rest of your day.